Hello, and welcome to the Don't Tell Anyone podcast. This is the show where we reveal the game changing tricks, hidden hacks, and closely guarded mysteries that top producers swear by but never share. So, if you're a music producer who's ready to make it big, who's ready to crush it and own your sound, you're in the right place. Each episode is packed with tips and insights to level up your skills and fast track your success. Are you ready to unlock your potential? Let's dive in. And today we have WCKiD, who is the innovative bass music project created by Bharat Kumar, a 21-year-old producer, sound designer, composer, and songwriter. Launched in the late 2020, WCKiD has quickly developed into a distinctive and dynamic force within the electronic music scene. Bharat, who began his musical journey at just 14 years old, blends a wide array of EDM elements to craft his unique sound, a fusion of moody ambient textures, haunting melodies, and hard-hitting drops. With a passion for innovation and creativity, WCKiD expresses storytelling through atmospheric soundscapes and high-energy drops, giving listeners an emotionally charged experience with each track. Over time, WCKiD has garnered over 10 million streams across various platforms and earned the support of renowned artists like Marshmello, Kashmir, Yellowclaw, as well as the curators such as Trap Nation, Cloudkid, and Dubstep Gutter. Now, with the release of his latest EP, WCKiD, Bharat is entering a new chapter for the WCKiD project, focused on further evolving his sound and expanding his audience. He remains dedicated to delivering fresh and groundbreaking music. So, with a commitment for growth and innovation, the future of WCKiD looks poised for even greater success. With that, I'd now like to welcome you to the show, man. How are you feeling right now?
Hi, Siddharth. How's it going? Very thankful for me to be inviting you here. And yeah, I mean, we have met before, and it was a great experience back. I think it was around 2.5 years back. I met you, one of the very few people I've seen, which I have met online, and then ended up meeting in real life. So it was really good, and I'm glad that you just kept me in your head and ended up inviting me here. Thanks.
Thank you so much, man, for joining. And at the beginning of every podcast, I usually start with every artist's origin. I just want to know how you got into the electronic soundscape. What first inspired you? What were you doing back then? And how did you decide that you're going to be doing this?
So,
Tell me all.
yep. So the story actually begins quite, shaky. And why would I say that? Because I remember I was playing a video game, right? There was no scene of music, nothing. I was just, I didn't even had Spotify back then. I just, had a computer and loads of games on that. So I was playing a game known as Far Cry 3, right? And I love that game. I love the whole Far Cry series. I was playing Far Cry 3, and in that, there was a mission where you had to burn down a whole weed farm, right? And so I was playing that mission, and the background of that particular mission, the song was playing was Make It Bandham by Skrillex. I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't a very good gamer back then, and I had to do that mission a couple of times. I think I was playing on a decent difficulty level to save myself at least from the humiliation that people are gonna give me for redoing that mission so many times. So I was listening to this song kind of like on loop again and again, and luckily I knew about Shazam. So I Shazam that song, and then I got to know about Skrillex. Right. So this was around 20 2014 or something. So that's when I discovered Skrillex. And I was like, yeah, this guy's good. So I didn't pay a lot of attention because I wasn't, listening to that song as a producer perspective, or it just sounded cool. And then in 2015, when actually Skrillex released his Jack U project, and it had the Where Are You Now song, I that name came up again. And I was like, okay, we have the guy Skrillex name again. I have heard this name before. So then the actual whole jamming process began, right? The whole listening to each and every song. I discovered Spotify. So Spotify has played a huge role in, discovering artists and all of that stuff. So then I just listened to all of his stuff, right from, Scary Monsters and Nice Sprites to the Bang Rang EP. And actually, that was one project. Like the Bang Rang EP was one project that just entirely changed my life. The songs, they were on repeat. Kyoto and whatever Summit, they were just on repeat. And then one of the craziest things about Spotify, which weren't there in older streaming platforms that India had. I mean, before Spotify, I think I was using Wink Music, and Spotify hasn't even launched in India back then. So I was using VPN and stuff, and then sort of playing that. But I came to know about related artists, and then I started listening to related artists, and then Discover Weekly and Release Radar and all of those algorithms. I was just completely surrounded by electronic music. So I was like, damn, this is a cool music. Like I still wasn't, by any means thinking about making music. But then one day, what I was doing is now because of my Spotify and my YouTube was also filled with whole EDM stuff. So one day I saw Martin Garrix's Tomorrowland set. Right, I saw that one guy, like Cost Martin, one guy is controlling so many people. Right, all those peoples are cheering for him, and they are just there for him. That sort of did something inside of me, right? Because to be honest, since childhood, I'm not gonna lie, I've been the kind of guy who was a little bit sort of always kept in the background, right? I was in the background. I did try to make myself up, like in classes and whatever. So, in my school, basketball was really popular. So I thought, let's try playing basketball. Maybe I will become popular too. So I tried playing basketball, and I got like, I wouldn't say decent, but yeah, kind of like okay-ish in basketball. But still, no one gave a single fuck about, what I am and how things are. So then I was like, okay, this is not working out. Then I thought I will study well. So I studied and I got up, among the top 10 in that class. And then slowly people started noticing me. But still, there wasn't any one factor that was differentiating me, from the crowd. And that's when I thought, okay, let's give this music thing a go. So the same thing, I opened YouTube up and I typed in how to make a song. As simple as that. And then I got to know about FL Studio. Like, what is FL Studio? This is back in 2018 or so, right? So the whole 2018 was me just trying to discover how to make music, which is still the case. I still discover how to make stuff, right? But that then slowly, things start to get a little bit more into the zone of me being cool, right? I was like, okay, I make music in my class. I'm supposedly cooler than you guys, but then things like these continued for around 2 years. And that's when the 2020 COVID happened. So that's when I had nothing to do, right? I gave my 12th, I think it was a 12th examinations. And I did put out a couple of songs even before 2020. That was, I think, Universe with Hitesh Bhaiya. Right? So I put all that out, but it wasn't anything serious for me. It was just like a hobby, right? Something that I do that sets me apart. That's it. But then when 2020 lockdown happened, that's when I had nothing to do, and I dedicated most of my day's time to making music, trying to find out what music is. And I started to get into communities, like different communities. Like back in 2020, we had labels like Magic Music, which still exist, but at back then they were like really prevailing. We had so many trap era was going on and everything was there. Future bass was so much popping back then. So yeah, that's when I actually started getting into communities. And then for the next 4 years, right? For the next 4 years, so from 2020 to 2024, that was my whole period of actually trying to just sort of somehow break into the industry, trying to understand what things are, trying to find my own sound, trying to find how do I even do this music stuff? How does it work? How does the industry work? How everything works? And now, cut to like today, 2025, I didn't sit in my placements, and now I'll be doing this music thing full time. And over the course of years, I would say that this whole thing, right? This whole, I don't know, 7 to 8 years, right? This whole thing has been one big chunk of time of me just trying to enter into the industry. So we are still in the beginning phase, but yeah, me getting into the music industry is kind of like a long shot. So this is how I started doing the music stuff.
So, like, why did you only choose like dubstep and heavy hitting genres to make your music, make your mark?
I mean, because if you see at my inspirations, like I listen to Skrillex and I listen to the Bangarang album, and when you listen to all those types of music, the YouTube is filled with top 20 heavy hitting drops, top 5 heaviest drops of all time, and dubstep drops. I'm like, wait a minute, dubstep? What is dubstep? So then the curiosity took over, and I started googling what is dubstep. Oh, I see. Dubstep, Skrillex, Dubstep, Zomboy, Dubstep, Never Say Die. Right. So that's when, I was like, and then, again, I got on Reddit and everything, and some people started saying like dubstep is the hardest genre to make, which is not at all true, right? Dubstep, no genre is very hard to make or very easy to make. That's at least what I think. But I was like, this is cool. I'm telling you, most of the things, most of the decisions that I've ever taken in life are just based on one thing. I think this is cool. That's it. So I thought dubstep was cool, and I thought like, okay, I'll try making this. But on the way of making dubstep, because that is what I thought was cool. It wasn't what I wanted to make. Like it wasn't authentic me. I just thought this is cool, but was that truly me? Not sure. So that's why I made tropical house on the way. Right? I made tropical house. I made future bass. I made deep house. All of that stuff, and then again trying to find my own sound through the time.
Yeah. I want to ask you, like, what was your breakthrough track when you got into music?
Like there have been a couple of key points
Okay.
when we talk about breakthrough tracks.
Mhm.
But if I were to tell you my first track that I really thought that made the difference
Mhm.
was Waiting for You, but with high C.
Yeah, of course.
Like, why? Because if you look at my Spotify stats before Waiting for You and after Waiting for You, I mean that was a track that sort of started the whole thing. So Waiting for You started as I mean I was putting out random stuff. There was no direction, nothing, no, not even, it wasn't even a passion. It was just like a hobby. But then I knew Hises and Harsh long before we made the track, right? Uh, I had one another Instagram account before Wicked. I was known as Krillin, right? So I knew Harshit Bhaiya back when I was Krillin. That was really long ago. But then due to that, stuff of knowing each other, that's when I sort of proposed him because he put out a track known as Summer Wave. I
Mhm.
think, yeah, that was the name. So he put out Summer Wave, and Summer Wave was like big hit, like million streams, and I was like, damn, million streams, bro, are you crazy? Because at that time, because in my time, right, I wouldn't say like I'm pretty old, but back in 2020, 100K was a big thing, right? I mean, still is, still as an independent artist, and even now, bro, 100,000 streams is a lot. But back when when labels were putting your songs into playlists and random playlists where people just listen, or stores just put them on their shops and all. I mean, not actually dedicated listeners I'm talking about. I'm just talking about where people just listen because they want something to listen. So I mean, 100K was a very big thing. So saw like Harshad got like 1 million streams, and I was like crazy. So I put him out, I sent him this track, like I have this idea, it sounds something like your track, Summer Wave, can we collab? And Harshit, being the guy he is, super super humble guy, right? I mean, back then, I mean, he's based in Delhi, right? So, and where I am from, like that's Toonla or Agra, there's just particularly no scene, right? Nothing goes on at my area, no shows, nothing. And he being from Delhi, so it was pretty nice of him that we got along together and we made that song. And again, Waiting for You comes out. I have never seen the kind of stats that Waiting for You brought. And that, and because he already had a sort of fan base, so people started sharing it on their stories. And that's when, got known. But then again, after that, I think after Waiting for You, I dropped one other song with an artist known as Transporter, and that song name is Dying Inside. Now, Dying Inside was sort of like my staple for that particular period of time. Why? Because it was a future based track. And for a long time, longer than I wanted it to be, I was known as a future based artist. Right. So it was a future based track with trap elements and it got released on this label known as Stardust. So that's when people are like, "Ooh, this is a cool song." And people actually engaged with that track, not because it was in a big playlist or anything. It got into the algorithm. And when it, slid into the algorithm, that's when things got bigger. And then after that, I sort of found my way making cover songs. I made a lot of cover songs because, again, I accept it was a trend. So I made a lot of cover songs, and I have two cover songs, right, that blew up. First of them being Ocean Eyes, that I made again with Hitesh Bhaiya, and it got released on Magic Music. Right, so again, so-called big label. It is a big label, right? So it got released on Magic Music again, like 500,000 streams. And then after that, the cover thing continued, and boom, Arcade drops. With the fifth Arcade drops, and that's like that. It still is one of my biggest tracks yet. I think around 4 million streams. I don't know, 3 or 4 million streams.
Great.
That's how the whole thing happened.
Man, tell me the story behind Arcade.
So yeah, Arcade was again back when I was just making music because I wanted to sort of try to break into the industry somehow. So I knew Giacomo, who is like a member of Fifth Guys. So I knew Giacomo through he was working as an AR for Magic and his own label Electronic Records. So I got to know about him and I sent him a couple of demos. So first I sent him a demo for Magic Music, right, which was Ocean Eyes, and he rejected a lot of my demos, a lot. Right? So I sent him a demo for Ocean Eyes and he liked it. He suggested a couple of changes and it ended up getting signed on. It was like a co-release between Magic Music and Electronic Music. But then after that, I was like, bro, I have one more collab. You want to try that out? And I swear I made that in like 2-3 hours, just a basic future based drop with a very popular track of that time, which was, of course, Arcade by Duncan Lawrence. Right. So I played it and I sent it out to him. Simple. And he said, okay, this is nice. We'll think about it. Nothing more, right? Just this one thing that, okay, this is nice. So I was like, okay, I wasn't expecting a lot of stuff because, again, I thought he was a very big artist. But then he showed like genuine interest in the track. And he said that, okay, we'll work on it. So I think like max to max 2 to 3 studio sessions they did and they completed the track. Simple. Right. Then we were to talk about vocalists. Right. So when we were discussing about vocalists, so we were doing, because there are two versions of Arcade that exist. We have a Duncan Lawrence version and a version where we have Duncan Lawrence and Fletcher. So we were doing like the Fletcher one version. So they were talking about who do you want as a female vocalist. So I was like, let's try Salvo. Why? Because I heard Salvo on a track on a just like this, because this track has like 4 artists, which is Fifth Guys, me, um, Tommy Rage, and Salvo. So I was like, I have seen Salvo working really good with these big collabs, because there is a collab that Salvo has been on, which was with Unknown Brain, right? And it got released on NCS Reloaded. I haven't forgotten the name of the track. It's shit, I forgot the name. Right? It's a really, really great track. So I told him let's bring in Salvo. And that happened. They asked Salvo, Salvo said yes, and she got on the track and it got released. And once it got released, it just blew up. Right? Instantly. Million streams, 2 million streams, and still it generates a lot of streams per day. So that's how, Arcade was born. Pretty simple idea, but it's just one of those examples where I did the right thing at the right time, because doing covers was in a trend at that time, and me putting out a cover of good song which had, a very poppy vibe. It is kind of like a commercial track. So a commercial track, which is a collab with a big artist and is a cover of a already popular song. So I think we just ticked off all of the check boxes and we then ended up getting a lot of streams.
Okay. That is really sick, bro. Now, moving on, I want to ask you, what are some of the challenges that you face in the creative process or in the music industry that listeners may not realize?
I think a lot of people think that money is one of the issues, which it is, right, in the early stage. Um, but if I were to be very honest with you, money is one of the last issues that you have to go through. Right. So I saw this one, reel the other day. I watched a lot of reels, right? So I saw this reel where Javed Akhtar sir is talking about why people who create art cannot be normal. Why is that? Because I would like to quote his words. I might forget a little things. But he said that if you're an artist, you cannot be normal. Why? Because being an artist, the hunger to be creative, right? It starts with something missing in you, and you keep on trying to make art to sort of fill that gap inside of yourself. Because if you find that exact thing, you would use that particular thing to fill the gap, right? But you are unable to find that thing, so you try all sorts of alternatives to fill that gap inside of yourself. So as a creative, I mean, there are numerous times where I have to go through like major creative blocks, right? And there have been even times where I have completely forgotten about my own identity as an artist, right? What am I? Why am I even making this? And I kid you not, this happened with me like a couple of months back. I was working on my album and I'm still working on my album. Like, I'm glad that I found my way out of it. But I was in one of the worst, creative identity crisis that I've ever been in. Right. What actually happened is that I made like 5, 6 songs, right, for my album. And I was a little bit unsure of them. So I sent them out to feedback. Right. I sent them out for feedback. And I sent them out to a couple of friends of mine. And they listened to the tracks and they said, "Bro, this is amazing. That's like super cool. New Wicked is here. Amazing." I was like, "Amazing. Okay." And then I thought in my head, these are my friends, bro. They will never said anything. They will never say anything bad. I'll try like more feedback sources. So I sent it out to a couple of more guys, which are like uh, pretty well known in British music industry and pretty respected also. So I sent them out for their feedback, and they say the same thing. They say it's a good track. It's a really good track. The rhythms are great. The sound design is great. It's very good. Top notch. Good work. And I was blown away. I thought, if the track is good, if the track sounds good, and everyone and the people that I'm sending the track out to is are saying that this track is good, then why am I not liking it? What is wrong here? And that's where the whole dilemma of me having to make original music and authentic music happened, right? You try to like, clip this part and show it to people, because I think it's very, very important for artists to know, because I've been in that space, and it's such a bad space to be in, because you have a force that constantly chokes you, but there's no way to come out of it, right? And that is originality versus authenticity. Two words that for some people may sound same, but they aren't, to be honest. So what is originality? Right? People say, right, his music sounds original. It's very original music. See, originality is it doesn't exist, to be honest. Why? Because there are just 12 notes on your keyboard, and there are that's it, right? That's it. That's it for everyone now to make music from. And people like Beethoven and Mozart, they have made all sorts of music and now they're gone. I'm again quoting a really famous saying, right? But now, and whatever genre you can think of in your head, probably someone made it, right? But whatever genre you're thinking of right now, it has to be a remix of anything that you have already heard, right? So nothing can be original in this particular time. Authenticity, on the other place, is different. Authenticity is you putting out stuff that actually is you, right? And you can be a mixture of a lot of things, right? So, what do I mean by that? I mean, now I have understood it after such a long time. I was so much obsessed with making original music. Like I have to make original stuff. I have to do something. I have to, stand out as an artist. I have to be unique. I have to be original. And it just fucked me up in my head because it is such a bad feeling that you are making art, you are putting in your hard work and everything, and at the end of the day, you yourself don't like it, and people like it. So it's like it's a very fake stuff that you're living in. So authenticity, on the other hand, is you putting yourself out there naked as an artist, and then people judging you. And I don't know about people who don't like it. Of course, there are going to be people who don't like your authentic music. But I'll promise you one thing: is when you put out authentic stuff and then people like it, it's a feeling like no other, right? A feeling that money cannot, you know, give you. A feeling that nothing else can give you. It's almost like a drug at that point. Then no other thing can make you feel that way. That you putting out your authentic self, your most brutal, your most raw part, and people actually congratulating you for that. Why? Because I've again told you earlier, I always wanted to be cool. Why? Because I was just a guy who would sit back in the class, a guy who wasn't really very appreciated, right? So I constantly was on a thrive of trying to become cool by you know trying to please people. We say that this guy's a people pleaser, but what do a guy would do? Because there's just one thing. I'm being very what do I say, like, very philosophical right now. Like, there's just one thing that every human being wants. That's love, right? Love from my parents, love from my friends, and love from anyone else. So, like, you do anything to attain that love, because as human beings, we don't want to be alone. We all want to be loved, and be part of a community. But what happens that when you don't receive it, so you try out ways, any sort of ways, to get it. And what do? You start looking up to people who already receive it, and then you try to do things that they do in order to work it on yourself, right? So you look at one of the coolest guys in your class, right? And this also applies in music production, by the way, right? You can see how I'm correlating it with music production. So you look at the trendy music that is going on right now, and you start making the trendy music. You think like everyone is liking the trendy stuff, and now I'll make it, and they like me too, right? But what happens is that when you try to do this thing for a living, this trick fails. This trick doesn't work out. The reason being because you have to do this as a living forever now, and it wouldn't be possible. Reason being that you can only be fake, or not fake actually, but not authentic for a certain period of time. When you have to do this thing daily, 365 days a year, it's not possible. Reason being because you will constantly run out of trends, right? One thing is in trend right nowadays, and then next week it's not. But every human being is made up of so many experiences that they have had through their entire lifetime, through their entire ways that they have spent their life in, that you have now like an unlimited resource of so many experiences that you can translate into music. And that's why I say being authentic is so good. I have heard this one saying from Oprah Winfrey. She said that being real made her so much money, and gave her so much support, that if she knew that all she had to do to attain all of this love was just to be herself, she would have done this much sooner. So if you're ever in a creative block, or if you're ever in a sort of, you know, artistic block, just be yourself. And again, I'm being very vague by just saying yourself. It's very easy. But what I'm trying to do is that don't think. Like, there's this one practice that I do. Right, it's known as free writing. And what I do is, like, I set an alarm. Shout out to Crywolf, by the way, for telling me about this technique. Is you set an alarm for 10 minutes, right? It's a very good trick. You set an alarm for 10 minutes. You open up a notepad or a book or anything, and just start writing. Just start writing. Don't think. Don't think anything, right? Don't think that what are you going to write? If the sentence should make sense or not. Nothing. Just the word comes in your head and you write it. Simple as that, right? Keep writing, right? For 10 minutes. It's going to be very hard because our brain is going to constantly try to make sense, right? It will be fed up with a lot of things, but don't think about it. Just keep writing. And this is like a good practice for you to actually be less judgmental of yourself and make more authentic art, because you constantly try to judge yourself that, bro, this is cool, this is not cool, right? This is nice, this is in trend, but what about yourself? What are you, right? So this is a very crucial tip for anyone. And by the way, this is, I'm giving for my personal experience, because my personally last 2 months have been just like this. Me constantly try to figure out myself, because now I am doing this as full time, right? So what do I mean when I say that I'm going to make music full time? I am competing with artists such as, maybe Sonu Nigam or Shreya Ghoshal ji, right? Who are constantly making like 5 to 6 tracks a day. And here you are being judgmental of just one track. You are not able to finish like even one track in 1 week. How are you supposed to compete and even make a living? Because if you like make music so less, then the chances of actually making successful music is even less, right? So that's like one of my biggest tips to people, is to be more authentic, be more real, and just make more music while being real. That's like one thing.
That is so amazing, bro. Like one of the best things I've ever heard in a while, to be honest. Man, my next question is, who are some of the artists who have inspired you, like outside of dubstep? Who are some of those artists?
Outside of dubstep, see,
Yeah,
I'm
outside.
gonna again quote the name Skrillex,
Okay.
because Skrillex is not dubstep, right?
Yeah.
One of the parts is, but that guy is just like, even with the latest album, I listen to his album every day, right? The newer one, the Fuck You Skrillex one, right? So I mean, it's just so awesome about that guy, his ability to just make music. I'm telling you again, he's not bounded by genres or anything, at least how I can see him or how I look up to him. He doesn't care about trends or genres or whatever. He has just one job. I'm telling you, he has just one job. He's a music producer. He makes music. What kind of music doesn't matter, right? Who- Only the kind of music that he loves. That's it, right? So Skrillex is one of the artists who I look up to like a lot. And the second artist who has now changed my life, to be honest, because I knew Skrillex like way back, right? But still, I wasn't like an actual music producer or anything, right? I was just still, trying to make sense, trying to make my music make sense. But then I stumbled upon one artist, and he helped me shape the whole Wicked identity, right? Shape the whole thing of how I wanted to present myself as an artist. I tried copying him so much, right? Down to his sound design, to the way he, does his arrangements, his whole, artistic aura, right? And that artist is Away, right? So Away is like, he's, for me personally, he's just right there with Skrillex and everyone. Because again, his music sounds so authentic. It's like you look at the guy, you look at Away, and you listen to his music, and it just fits. Like, this guy made this music. I even show you, like, I downloaded all of Away's tracks and actually dissected them, just somehow trying to, get into his mind, just somehow, right? And I again trying to understand not actually what he did, but what was he thinking when he was making this track, right? That sort of deep analysis I done, from his, songwriting to his sound design to the way he processes his drums, his whole stuff, how he uses silence in music. And then I just kept on studying him and then trying to get his attention somehow. And I think like a couple of weeks back, he followed me on Instagram. And that's like one of my biggest feats yet. So if you can clip this part and, post this online, I would maybe tag Away again and just show him his my love, right? Just one of my biggest inspirations. He has literally changed my life.
Will do, man. Will do. Okay. Moving forward, I'm going to ask you a series of rapid fire questions and I'm going to try to catch you off guard.
Okay.
So, okay. Best of luck for this round. And I'm going to start by asking your horoscope,
Aquarius, I think.
your date of birth.
That's 10/12/2002.
Okay. Your favorite track produced by you.
Too far.
Okay. Your favorite track produced by a local producer.
Um,
Got you.
yeah. It just so it has to be like Outshades. There's this deep house track that he has. So
Mhm.
got to Outshades track.
Okay. Of course. Your favorite movie.
It has to be Whiplash.
Your favorite Indian movie.
Tumbad.
Okay. Most influential EDM artist ever.
Skrillex.
Most influential duo in EDM industry.
Duo has to be again for duo. I think Daft Punk. Yep.
Okay. Most influential trio.
Swedish House Mafia by long shot.
Okay. Most influential rock band.
Rock band has to be, I think, probably AC/DC for my taste.
Okay. Most influential Indian rock band.
I have not heard a lot of Indian rock band, but I have been, listening to a lot of Bloodywood stuff. I think that they are doing
I love
really good.
Bloody Wood. I love Bloody Wood so much. Okay. Your favorite sports car.
Mustang. It's a muscle car, but still, I love it.
Yeah. Your favorite wrestler.
It has to be, I think, Randy Orton.
Oh man, Randy Orton, RKO's.
Piper, right?
Yeah, man. Most influential Latin artist.
I think Tanny is very, very great. I mean, I wouldn't say he's influential, but he's like personally one of my favorites. His musical ability is genius.
Yeah, man. Most influential Grammy winning artist.
A Grammy winning artist. I think it's Phineas, right? For me personally.
Okay.
Phineas because he broke like one of my biggest misconceptions for an artist. Like I know there have been a lot of artists and a lot of things goes on behind the scenes that we will probably never know. But still, that idea fact alone that you can fucking win like 5 6 Grammys from a album that you made in your bedroom and the level of production, like where you keep it minimal and less is more. So yeah, Phineas.
Most influential Grammy nominated artist.
Like a couple of weeks back, I saw this reel by Doechi. I think that's her name is, and she showed herself a time lapse of like her last 5 years. How in 2020 she was just struggling and just kept out sending demos, like one of the most raw version of herself, and cut to now where she has won a Grammy. And being inspired from her, I even recorded a video of myself, to be honest, you know, where I'm just promising my future self that one day when we'll get somewhere, I will talk back to you.
Okay. Okay, now I'm going to ask you like some influential artists from the genres. So, dubstep.
Dubstep influential, I think it has to be Dr. P.
Okay. Mid tempo.
Mid tempo, yeah, I think 780L. Always. My guy is a fucking beast.
He's a killer, man. Yeah.
But,
Progressive house.
has to be. I think there are a lot of people to be named for progressive house because back then a lot of people were listening to it. But I think it of course comes down to Martin Garrix. But I think there are other artists such as Dub Vision, right? Again, hearing a lot big, bold progressive house songs. So yeah, then
Big room.
Big Room has to be Hardwell, right? Guys just there putting out music.
Yeah. Trap.
Trap. I'm gonna have to say Jack U because I listen to their stuff a lot and their ability to commercialize trap music, which is not entirely trap, but Jack U, Yellow Claw, and then we have who else for trap? I think even the old spinning guys, right? Where even Rehab and everyone they were putting out trap, so it's pretty old now.
Yeah.
But even nowadays, where trap is making its comeback with people like Viper Active, Flostradamus making a comeback, 4B coming back. So yeah, trap is reviving a lot.
Future bass.
Future bass, I think Illenium has changed the game for future bass.
Hip hop.
Hip hop, I think for hip hop, yeah, I have to go with Kanye West. But again, I think Eminem in his prime and then Kanye West in the newer scenes of around, the 2000s, right? Late 2000s. So he was pretty influential. by that time.
Okay. Pop, mainstream pop.
A mainstream pop, I think. How do you even define pop? I'm very, like a bit very messy with genres. But for pop, I think yeah, Michael Jackson, king of pop. So yeah,
Okay. R&B.
R&B. I think Khalid is just a game changer. Even Khalid and I think Bryson Tiller, two guys for R&B.
Yeah. Trance.
And I only know a couple of guys in trance. So I'm just gonna name Armin van Buuren. That's it. I don't know a lot of people.
Okay. Psytrance.
Psytrance. Again, I don't know a lot of guys who make psytrance, but Vinny VC, yeah, and WNW, they make psytrance. So yeah, them.
Okay. Chill out.
Chill out. I think Shallow. He's like one of my favorite chill out artists. Yeah, him.
Grime. Industrial.
Oh, Nine Inch Nails, forever. Right. I just love their stuff. I actually got to know about Nine Inch Nails from Awake himself. But when I listened to their stuff, it was just so sick.
Okay. Deep house.
Deep house. Oh, I think Lost Frequencies and Robin Schulz and these couple of artists are really, really good when it comes to deep house stuff. Yeah, them.
And one really out of the bounds genre, funk.
Funk. Oh, shit. Ah, damn, I don't listen to a lot. I mean, probably all of the guys who have their viral TikToks. I think funk is even like funk nowadays sort of being meshed with Brazilian funk. That is great, man. The I'm telling you, repetition is so crazy. When the lyrics just keep on repeating, it's just really nice.
Okay, okay. My next question is, if you could create the ultimate festival lineup and perform with any artist alive or dead, who would be on it?
Oh, great. By the way, if I'm just gonna be very, honest here. I've never been to a festival.
Okay.
I've never been to a festival, never been to a show. So actually don't know how is it. But if I have to see a couple of artists live, one has to be Excision, bro. Right? His shows, his visuals are just crazy. Right? We have
We went to Millennium show last year and he was playing absolute dubstep. The vibe there was absolutely crazy. We were all headbanging. I believe it was in Sunburn, Gurugram. Millennium had come there and opening was blank.
oh yeah, blank yeah, shit man. That guy is crazy.
Man, absolutely. Like before Millennium, my neck was paining so much I cannot even tell you.
I really want to visit some shows because I've seen people because a lot of people were there at the artists at the shows where this was all happening, and they texted me that those experiences are actually life changing. Right, so yeah, I think I have to get to one of the shows. But if I have to make an lineup, it has to be the main act has to be Skrillex with me sort of performing alongside him, right? If that is possible somehow. But I want to see a lot of artists, such as I think I want to see a couple of rock bands still. Like I want to see AC/DC perform. They are like one of my favorite artists when it comes to rock stuff. So it has to be AC/DC, probably Metallica. A lot of rock artists are going to be there. Black Sabbath, Led Zeppelin. But when we get into the electronic music territory, I think Skrillex has to be there. Excision has to be there. Zomboy has crazy energy when it comes to actually, playing shows and everything. And I think maybe Seven Lions. I think he has done some really, really crazy shows. Very big, melodic whole structure. Elenium has to be there with his home, stadium shows and everything. So yeah, maybe them. And then we can have some hip hop artists if that works, right? Hip hop artists, maybe something like I think MF Doom can come back, and I think I've heard like talks. I've never seen the show, but I've heard that he does like crazy shows. But yeah, I think that's it. I don't know actually really about them.
Okay. Moving on, my next question is, the bass scene is actually crowded with talent. So, what do you think sets Wicked apart from the rest?
Now we are on to some self flexing questions, right? But I mean, what sets me apart. I think I want to, crawl back to one of my things that I just said, which is every person is made up of very unique experiences that he or she has experienced in their lifetime. So if everyone started creating music which is true to themselves, then automatically everyone is different nowadays. But what I think is now my brand is shaping up into is like a one big fucking unit, right? Because I now make my own artworks, right? I edit my own videos, and even on the new album, I will try singing, right? I've sung a couple of songs. So it's like an Apple's ecosystem where everything is sort of so, you know, and detailedly connected with each other that when you zoom out and see the bigger picture, it makes a lot of sense. Because what one thing that I see in artists where they have their own, like cover art made by someone else, lyrics are written by someone else. Maybe the person understands or don't understands that vision that they wanted the track to, give out. But me being an artist, like I make my own artworks, and I'm just not saying like I'm the only artist who does that. There are a lot of artists who do that, but it is in fact very crucial because it gives again like one single message. If you cut down to the bottom of it, it's one single message that I want to give out to people. So like I think the cohesiveness of art where visuals and audio combined, that's where Wicked shines.
Amazing, man. Many artists have been vocal about the commercialization of electronic music. So, do you think the genre has lost its underground roots, or do you think it just became something completely new?
First of all, I mean, I don't think that commercialization of any particular genre is bad because if if we have a particular technique where we can take our music global, then what's the harm in that? I've seen that people say that bro, let it stay underrated because if it will get to a lot of people, it will get diluted or fucked up, whatever. But I don't think that's nice because I mean, as an artist, what you want to do, or what's the ideal state as an artist, is that your music affecting to the maximum amount of audience who are in need of it, right? So if a particular genre grows global, commercially, right? So first of all, we will have a lot of people sort of experimenting with it. That's a very good plus point. So we had this one main genre, and now because it's so popular, so we have people who are mixing it with other genres. That we have a new variant of it, and then a new variation of it. But then, is it even important that the actual root of the root of that particular genre got lost? I don't think so, to be honest. The reason being is that who actually cares about genres, right? At the end, a normal listener doesn't give a fuck about what the genre is. They don't care. They don't, 100% keep on analyzing songs when they are listening to it. That's just one thing that only the producer and music people have. That we do not have the luxury of listening songs as a listener now. As soon as the, sound wave hits our eardrums, we are constantly analyzing, right? We have like a project file running in our head where the whole song is being played. I think that's like one of the downsides of being a guy or a person related in the music industry, that you have lost the particular edge of being able to listen music normally. So it doesn't really matter that if a genre was there and now it's lost its root and became something else. At the end, I would see this as evolution, not the other way around. It just became into something new. For example, let's just say, I'll give you a very good example. Like, let's just take trap, for example, right? We had trap in 2016, and then trap went sort of global. Everyone was making trap in the electronic music industry, and see what that happened. It died for the time being. Yes, people would say like trap is dead now. But look at it now. Trap sort of combined with UK garage, and now we have this amazing new genre that artists like Bon and Viper Acte and all of the newer artists are using, right? So I don't think a genre dies. I think it just does its job of making a newer genre, and then it fades away. It goes away. and now you have a newer genre which will then evolve into something else. So I think that is how the whole circle of music genres work. And as a listener, no one cares what the genre is. A normal guy only knows one thing: if a song is good or not.
Yeah,
That's it.
that is true. Social media is a huge part of an artist's career these days. So, do you feel like it's helped you grow as an artist, or do you feel like sometimes it's more of a distraction?
No, bro. Completely. Social media has changed my life. Right. I mean, let's just talk about last year. I was at, I don't know, maybe 1,000 followers, and I was barely making money. I wasn't even taking my music thing seriously. I was even thinking of, changing my artist or doing music as a side hobby. But then I started making reels, background, reels showing the process, what goes on behind the scenes. And that's where things changed. That's where I sort of got into my own country's music industry, where we have people like Char Diwari and Bharg and Ro and you know guys like Salim Suleiman ji and everyone sort of noticing me, Karan Kanchan and everyone. So if social media wasn't there, I would be a nobody for them. Right? I was talking to Karan Kanchan once, and there were some words that he told me, which he must have said casually, but actually had a huge impact for me. Is that they said, "कि bro, मुझे पता ही नहीं था तू भी है," right? And I was like, exactly, bro. If no one will even know that I exist, how are they going to help me? So I at least have to let them know that I am also someone out there hustling. So social media is like one of the best ways to do that. We have like now countless examples of artists just making it big. We have, Levity, the artist trio. I think it's now a duo who just, did their groundbreaking songs. Now using stuff, we have artists like Jake and everyone who just blew up. Even Arcando, got blown up with all of his reels and stuff. He currently ending up having a Chainsmokers remix and everything. So social media is like one of the biggest tools where people can have. But again, you gotta be authentic. Don't fall into trends. Do your own thing on social media. If someone likes it, they will sort of engage, and if they don't, they can just keep scrolling up. It's not a big deal. You don't have to take this thing very seriously, but it's a tool that if used right, it can be one of the most beneficial things ever for an artist.
So true, man. So true. The rise of curated playlists and algorithms has changed how people discover music. So, do you think it's made it harder for artists to really stand out, or is it just part of the game?
I mean, back when I was, trying to make music and everything, so playlisting was a huge deal, because if you got into a very big playlist, you would receive streams. And if you tried going indie, it's going to take like twice as much hard work, and you might get not even half as much results. But what I noticed, like over this huge era of 3-4 years, is that playlists are a scam for an artist, right? And I'm talking about user curated playlists. I'm not talking about Spotify's algorithmic playlist. That's a different thing, right? So there's a big difference between the playlist that label creates, and again a very big difference between the playlist that Spotify creates. Because I have seen playlists which are named like top 10 hard hitting bass drops stuff, and we have a fucking deep house song in that. I've seen playlists that are titled as gym playlist, right? And we have fucking deep house music in that. How is deep house a gym song, bro? Right? So I think it's one of the biggest scams. People think that they are getting streams, meaning that they are popular, right? And you are listening this from a guy who has like 10 million streams, and still I, I I'm known by a very less audience in my country myself, right? So that's why this whole fucking circle of having a lot of streams and then getting happy and then just keep doing the same thing again and again, not caring about the artistic authenticity and building a brand, it's gonna cost a lot to people. So what I would suggest is, maybe take the risk, put out songs. And I know it's very hard. Even I had a hard time because I put out like 2 to 3 songs independently last year, and they didn't even get end up maybe like 10,000 streams. But at least what I noticed is that I got more messages from those less than 10,000 streams than the million streams that I had from other songs. So I'm telling you, authenticity and putting out music that is actually affecting people while helping yourself, putting yourself as one of your rawest version out there, that's like one of the craziest combos ever. It helps both the parties, right? So that's great.
So, my next question is, as a producer, you are constantly innovating, you're constantly pushing boundaries. But do you feel like the new or experimental sounds that you're creating gets lost in the shuffle of mainstream music?
Mm, See, I want to give a really good analogy that I received from my friend Priyanshu. So he said, right, his mom gave him this example and then he told me about it. He said that whenever like milk is extracted from a cow, right? So the raw milk that comes out of a cow, it's not or a buffalo, right? It's not drinkable. If you drink that, your gut health will go all messy. Your stomach won't be able to digest it. So what the milkman does, he mixes water in that milk to sort of make it digestible for people. And that's how it exactly works with music. If you make like proper experimental raw music, right? It might be good, it might be authentic, right? But you have to make it a little bit diluted with commercial stuff so that a normal listener who is just transitioning from a very commercial track that he might have been listening for the past, 5 to 10 years, and he instantly listens to your track, there can be only two ways. Either he will love it or he just hate it. But if you mix just a little bit of, you know, commercialness into that particular experimental track that you have, that transitioning becomes very easy for him because that listener can relate to that commercial part while experiencing that particular fresh experimental part at the same time. So I think that's like a pretty good way of having a very nice experimental sound while still having your own originality in it.
That is so amazing, bro. That's a really good way you put it. So, my next question is, a lot of fans think that EDM artists only care about money and fame. So, how do you respond to critics who accuse electronic music of being overly commercialized and profit driven?
See, um, I would just say one thing to people who think that we do it for money and things that why don't you try it, right? Why don't you try putting in, I don't know, maybe hundreds of hours on just one song, still that ending up not being selected by a label or anything, right? And then, you know, audacity to say that this is just done for money and fame. See, I won't say that I'm not able to make money. I make like decent money that I can take care of myself. But that is not the first goal. I'm telling you, as an artist, the first goal is to fill the hole in yourself. And the byproduct with it is money. Now, people say that I don't do it for the money. That's again a big lie because without money, you cannot survive, right? But it is actually very, very, very hard to do the thing that you like in a field that you like and then make money out of it, right? It's like you have to be extremely hardworking, extremely lucky to be doing that because being able to do the work that you want is a privilege, right? Not everyone in the world has this privilege that they can do whatever they want as their main job. It's a very big privilege. So for me, making music and being able to make music while still making money is a very big privilege. My family allows me. And after that, in the music industry, being able to make the music that I want, which is like wicked music, and then still being able to make money out of it, that's like, it was very hard, very, very hard. So yeah, it's not easy to make money, bro, to be honest.
Ooh. Some fans argue that the art of producing music has been lost in the face of streaming numbers and viral hits. So, what's your take on this? Do you think the business side of music is overshadowing the creative side?
Yeah, that could be the case. See, I don't think like I am very, critically certified to give you this answer. I mean, I have like 10 million streams, but if you ask me, are you very happy with your most successful tracks at this stage of life? I would say no, right? When you ask me in the rapid fire round that what is your favorite track, and I said Too Far, like that is not my most streamed track, right? That's like pretty underrated track, but still my favorite track that I made. So I think people will eventually understand. I just say one thing that if a person is making music for a living, doing this for a living daily, it cannot be just for numbers and streams. Because eventually, what will happen is that trends will change and the guy will get exhausted trying to catch up with the trends. Because the trends will keep on evolving. Every week, there will be a new trend, and we just cannot keep on running after trends. So, eventually, what will happen is that they will have to get back to their authentic side one day or the other, right? We have seen countless examples for it, right? People making authentic art and then the streaming numbers don't add up, and they said that, oh my God, they're now done. But the artist is happy and make music for yourself because the listeners will listen what you make. It should never be the other way around. You should not make what the listeners will listen. That's very fucked up. It's
Yeah.
gonna eat your life.
Yeah.
Right? So maybe about that.
Okay, so my next question is related to that. Like, do you ever feel the urge to compromise your artistic integrity just to keep up with what's popular or no trending?
Again, in this industry, you have to be something like a chameleon, right? You have to morph yourself in the trends that are going right now just to make money. That's why I say that making money while being the authentic version of yourself is very hard, very, very hard. But I won't say it's not possible. It is possible because look at the examples. Let's do the numbers here. Let's just say that you make the art that you are very much proud of, right? It's you. It's to the core, it's just you. And even 0.1% of the population thinks that this guy is good. This guy is making music that represents us of two, right? Not a lot, just 0.1% of the population. And even if we think about, like if there are 7 billion people on earth, that's like 700,000 people, right? Relating with your art.
Yeah.
700,000 people streaming your music, 700,000 people buying your merch, buying your tickets, no, maybe buying your music. And that's a lot. Even if you sell it for $1, that's like $700,000, right? Two times and you have more than $1 million. So making music while being authentic is possible. You just have to stick for a long. It's going to take a lot of hard work, a lot of patience, but just stick to it. And that's where, results will start to show. I can say this because I've been there, right? There was so much, because being from like a middle class family, a lot of pressure was there to do a job. And then again, because I wanted to be in this industry, there was a lot of pressure for me to make money, right? So, yeah, I still managed to stay authentic and still make money was purely due to a lot of hard work. Like I tried alternative ways like teaching students, Patreon, and then post production, everything. So it's very important because after doing all of that hard work, it enables me somewhere to make the kind of music that I truly love. And I think it's worth it.
Truly. Okay. Some people might say that the need for constant content release on platforms like Spotify or SoundCloud forces artists to churn out music too quickly. So, do you think this industry is damaging the creative process?
It could be, but that also depends upon what kind of artist you are, right? Because we have seen artists like Frank Ocean, bro. He hasn't dropped an album in I don't know, maybe like 10 years or now. But when he drops, people will listen. They will surely listen, right? So I don't think that you constantly need to keep dropping music again and again, because if you drop a piece of art that is very authentic and very touching to a person, that will keep hitting the spot again and again, right? You would never go out of fashion. Even before Skrillex dropped Quest for Fire, it's not like I wasn't listening to Skrillex. I was still listening to him, and he was maybe dropping one song in a year, right? So I don't think like you need to keep putting out some. Even I have just put out one song this year, right? And I wouldn't say like I'm still being talked among the crowd, but still I don't feel pressurized. I think it's good. I will make the kind of music that I want. And when I think that it's at a place where I can put it out, I will. So I don't think people or artists need to stay in pressure with that. Just keep it chill and things will start to come to you.
Okay. My next question is, with so many EDM artists jumping into genres like pop, hip hop, funk, like do you feel the pressure to branch out beyond bass music, or do you wish to stay true to your roots?
Nah, bro, I love to experiment with genres, right? Like like I think a couple of days back, I finished a challenge of 30 songs in 30 days. And when you have to make a song every day, right? When you have to make one idea every day, you cannot stick to one particular genre and just keep making different ideas. You have to try out different genres. You have to get out of your comfort zone because the genre that you are in, that's your comfort zone, right? You have already worked there, you have already made music there. But if you want gold, if you want true creativity, luxury, step out into different genres. So yeah, I keep on trying different stuff. I've tried UK garage, I've tried house music, I've tried even you look at my discography, right? So from house to trap to future bass to bass music, and my last track, if you remember, We Are a Joke, it was kind of like future garage and stuff. Then I've also tried color bass, and the last track that you have, I think, Dirty Thoughts. What genre is that even? Right? That's not even a genre. So yeah, just keep branching out, get out of your comfort zone, make music, and you won't know what great things that you'll find. Maybe you find just a better medium to express yourself, right? So there's that.
Okay. If you could change one thing about the music industry, what would it be?
One thing. Well, I think one thing that I would change is I don't think it's more of a music industry thing. I think it's more of something related with the human analogy. Is that judging an artist too early, right? Whenever a artist try to put out some sort of piece of art that he or she really likes, and he being the kind of insecure person that he or she is, if they put their art out there and then people immediately start to judge it, that sort of kills the whole vibe of the art, right? Because they see that the reviews have came in. Art grows on you, right? Art grows on you. Maybe you listen to a song right now, you don't like it much, but a lot of times it might have happened that the song grew on you, right? So that is very important. One thing that I want to change is giving artists chance, right? Let them make what they want, right? Giving them their creative space. For example, I like this a lot about Skrill is that he makes music whatever he likes, however he likes. That's very important. So even for like for example, you see funk is so much in trend that every artist wants to make funk and stuff. If you even uh, think about Bollywood, Bollywood is very skeptical about all of these genres. You make something very experimental, you make something that they think is not gonna earn them money, a lot of money, and then what happens is that it ends up not getting released, and you have to. I'm telling you, it's the other way around. Maybe try mixing a little bit of experimental in your commercial stuff, right? What I said earlier was mixing a little bit of commercial stuff in your experimental stuff. Let's just try doing the opposite stuff. Like just put in a little bit of experimental elements in your commercial track and just find a good balance after all. So one thing that I would like to change is just giving a lot of new artists a chance. Maybe what India can, or should I say Bollywood can do, is maybe make a label just for experimental stuff. Why? That's not gonna hurt anybody, right? It might do good, it might do bad, it might shut down. We'll see, right? So there's that.
Okay. So, what is next for Wicked? Like any new upcoming releases? Anything you wanna tell to the fans?
I've been constantly working on music non-stop for the last, I don't know, maybe months, 3, 4 months. I made like 3, 4 unfinished ideas for damned album. I think I should make this public. I'm working on my album, right? My first debut album, and that I think probably it will release this year, and that's gonna be like a full circle moment. Like last, I think 2 years back now, I dropped the Wicked EP. That was a pretty big thing for me, and that EP, I don't think I won't talk about how it performed, but still it taught me a lot, right? And that's another thing that I want to tell people is that just make music. It might not be a good music, it might not be bad, it might be bad music, but one thing is that bad tracks teach you the same, if not more, than the good tracks. Right? So keep on making music. And for Wicked, I think I'm gonna be releasing my album this year. Maybe make a better visual aesthetic, offer more stuff on Patreon, offer more stuff on YouTube, and probably get into a little bit of shows.
Oh, that is really amazing, bro. Okay, my last and final question for this podcast is, if there is any one piece of advice you could give to yourself when you were first starting out, what would that advice be?
Um, Stay authentic. It has to be it. Just make music that is you. Even if you listen to a lot of my tracks, I have blindly copied a lot of tracks. From their arrangement to the whole sound design and everything, just because I wanted to be that artist. Away is a really good example, right? If you listen to my song "We Are a Joke," and it's like a bland copy of Away's track "Blue 22," right? Because I wanted to be Away so much, but turns out that I cannot be Away because Away is the best at being Away because that's his true sonic identity. So if I have to give myself an advice, right, it has to be just be yourself, be as authentic as possible. If you like something, say a strong yes, your strong yes. And if you don't like it, say a strong no. That is it. Be at least transparent with yourself as an artist. That's it.
Thank you so much, bro. That is amazing advice. And thank you so much for joining the show, brother.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining. And thank you all for tuning into this podcast. Make sure you give this podcast a 5-star rating if you are listening on Apple or Spotify, and like and share and subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. I'll see you guys in the next episode. Until then, keep grinding, keep producing, keep working hard, and above all, don't tell anyone. Peace.